Good morning, Savannah. Again, and welcome to the Savannah Business Showcase. I'm your host, Taraz, and I'm here this morning with a very special guest, Miss Susan McGahee. I said McGahee, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
She is the owner of IMI Financial Group, imifinancial.biz. She's a benefits consultant that coaches clients through choosing the best health and life insurance, as well as disability and voluntary benefits. So, Susan, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
Good.
having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad. This is one of my first ones doing it live, so I'm excited to have you in the studio, being one of the first ones. So the way I like to start the show is with a scenario. So here it is. You're in your neighborhood. You're walking down the streets, and a little kid comes up to you and says, "Susan, you're my hero." So I want to be like you when I grow up. I love what you do. So in the language that a 10 or 12-year-old can understand, what does it take to be Susan McGahee?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Well, in this life, honestly, I have a heart for helping people. I really want to help people to understand just financial basics. That's basically where I started in the business. I found out, I thought I was smart, but then I found out how financially illiterate that I was. So just really learning all that I can so I can pass that knowledge along to my clients. So in a 12-year-old mind, let's see, that's a little harder. But basically trying to keep it simple. It's really not that complicated. Right. It's just that people don't know, don't have the basic knowledge to, and a lot of people are afraid of it. They don't want to know. I have spouses that I go sit down with a husband and wife, and a spouse will go, "Well, he takes care of all of it. I don't. Just tell me where to sign. Just tell me where to sign." Yeah. And it's unfortunate because if something ever happens to that marriage, whether it's divorce or death or whatever, they're in a position where they don't know. So fortunately, they do call me then. But we have to sit down and relearn it all over again. And I can do that. I can teach you. You just have to be willing to learn that.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because I'm in that position where I'm the one. It's like my wife knows everything. She's a pharmacist, so she's in the healthcare field already. So I kind of just I listen and I learn, but I let her handle most of it. So
right. So
can you explain it to me?
Okay.
Well,
in that aspect of it, and that's fine. Where maybe one person is handling it, as long as the both of you are making those decisions. And informed decisions. So I tell people, make sure that, when you sit down, make those decisions together so that you do have the knowledge and the information to make sure that those decisions, because make sure that, especially in a marriage, it's a biblical principle that you come together, as one, and you're to make those decisions together. True. I very much believe in the biblical principles of handling money. I teach that. I teach those classes to whoever, would like to, whether it's a one-day seminar, just a basic seminar, or whether it's a, hour-long, just a basics, and then we can get into a longer seminar to get into more knowledge. But if you don't know the basics, then some people, and I'm not, no judgment, because I was in the same situation of balancing checkbooks, and it's not taught in our high schools, and it's not taught in our college. So a lot of people come out and do not have that knowledge. So for someone like you, I would sit down and with you and your wife and go over those, because you need to know what you own. And you do own it. It is yours. This is yours. When you are paying for something, you own it, whether it's a life insurance policy or a disability policy or your health insurance. You own it. So if you went to go buy a new car, would you just go, "Oh, I don't care. All I need to know is how to crank it up"? You get in it. Well, what if it's, "Oh, my seat warmers are too hot. How do I change that?" Or the radio's too loud. How do I even turn the radio on? Yeah. So you need to learn all the ins and outs of what your insurance is. That way, if you ever need to use it, you're able to do so. And to the best of your ability that you are using it to the best. You're paying that premium. Use what's there and available. Insurance, unfortunately, is if something happens, is when it is in use.
Right.
And that's usually when it's too late to learn, oh, I didn't know my policy didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I hate this policy. I hated this insurance because it didn't pay when I was out sick. Well, there may have been a pre-existing clause. So there's so many elements to it, but that's what I'm there for,
Gotcha.
is to help you learn about that, if you want to learn about that, and coach you through that. And then if there is a claim, to help you file those claims and figure out the ins and outs. Because it is complicated.
Yeah.
I did not learn it overnight.
Right.
So I'm learning every day.
So how did you get into it? Like, what led you into this industry?
Well, that is a funny story as well. A lot of people don't know that I moved to Savannah 28 years ago.
Okay.
And when I moved to Savannah, I just
from
wanted...
where? I'm sorry.
That's okay. From a town called Louisville, Georgia. That is my hometown. Officially Stapleton, but most people don't know where Louisville is. They surely don't know where Stapleton is.
Okay, no.
It's about 50 miles south of Augusta.
Okay.
So Jefferson County. Louisville was actually the first permanent capital of Georgia. So
Okay.
if you know your Georgia history.
Awesome.
That's where you learn that. But I grew up there, loved it. It's my hometown. I still love my hometown. I go back there. I still have many clients there. My family is there. But I also knew that the opportunities were limited there. And I knew that I had to get away from that town to be able to, advance in whatever I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually came to Savannah on vacation, fell in love with it, and met a young lady that said, "Hey, I'm going to need a roommate in November." That was in July. I said, "Well, I'll find something, to get me down here."
Mm-hmm.
So I came down as a bartender and a waitress.
Okay.
And my first job was at the Pirates House.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Yes, I was a waitress at the Pirates House. I did that for about 3 months till I could find something else. So for the first basically 8 years, I'm not that old, I promise. For the first 8 years that I was here, that's what I did, bartending and waitressing, but I did some administration too. I had office skills as well. So I tell people it was me, myself, and I, and we all, 3 had a job, sometimes a spare one, sometimes 4 jobs.
Yeah.
So I'd get out of one uniform, get into another one, go somewhere else. I'd leave my office. I'd go waitress somewhere. So whatever it took to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working hard, just wasn't working real smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I could make money, just didn't know how to handle it and what to do with it. So in 2006, I was working for corporate America and thought, okay, this is my career, this is my job, this is what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life. Loved what I did. I was an office admin at Air Liquide America. I was working through a temp agency, but my boss, who I absolutely adored, Mr. Homer Wiggins, said, "Oh, we're going to get you on here full time. This is going to be my career. It's what I'm going to be doing." So I bought a house, all the things that you do when you got a career going. And about 6 months later, good old corporate America came along and said, "Nope, we're cutting back." So they cut me back to 20 hours.
Wow.
So I had to find something to do. And a friend of a friend of a friend, good old Savannah networking, which we know works well.
Yeah.
Works well. Said, "I know somebody that's putting an office in down here. They're going to be looking for somebody to work in their office." So we talked, and she said, "Well, I'll come interview you at your home." And I thought, wow, okay, that's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she came to my home and sat down with me and basically introduced me to a company called Primerica Financial Services.
Okay.
A lot of people are very familiar with that. It used to be the old A.L. Williams company a long time ago. But what I learned in that hour and a half just set a fire in me to know, I think I'm smart, but I found out again, like I said, how financially illiterate that I was of just the basics. Yeah. Things like the rule of 72. What is life insurance? How does it work? Why do you need it? Mm-hmm. How do you get out of debt once you're in it? How to set up a budget, how to set, just basically, like I said, your basics. But in an hour and a half, I was excited. I was on fire. I said, how do I do this? I got to go teach other people. And I just started, a list just came in my mind of same people in the same position that I was in. Yeah. So, I started working with her, and, about 6 months later, I gave my heart to the Lord and decided I needed to get out of the bartending and the waitress business.
Got a heart to do both.
And had to get out of Savannah. Right. Had to get out of Savannah. So I moved back home, lived with my parents for 3 years, which was a great move. They were my best friends. I absolutely loved spending that time with them. And worked with Maura Johnson, who was my mentor.
Okay.
And just followed her, stayed on her skirt tails and said, teach me everything I need to know about the business. So built a business, built a clientele, decided after 3 years that we were good friends, my parents, and we wanted to remain that way. So it's time for me to move back to Savannah. So we both agreed on that. I moved back to Savannah. And I worked at Great Dane Trailers, still worked at office. So I was still doing kind of on a part-time basis, but still kind of building up my clientele. And I did that until 2008 when I was working for a builder in the area. And that was right before the bubble burst. So God has a way of putting you in a position where you need to be at that time.
Yeah.
He took me out of the building industry. And I was like, okay, well, now what am I going to do now? And God says, what you love to do. That's what I put in your heart. So I made the decision. I stepped out. A very scary decision because, as I said, me, myself, and I'm not married, don't have that backup income.
Yeah.
It's 100% commission. So if I don't work, I don't get a paycheck. But it was scary, but it was also very exciting as well. So I've been doing it now since full time since August of 2008, and that's IMI Financial had been formed by Maura, my partner. She's now retired.
Okay.
Semi-retired. She'll never retire. She works all the time. She's doing something all the time. But, very thankful for the knowledge that she gave me, the leadership that she gave me. So I took over the IMI Financial Group.
Awesome. What does IMI stand for?
Well, at the time it was insurance, mortgages, and investments.
Okay.
We're no longer doing mortgages because of the regulations and the licensing and everything that, sometimes you can just spread yourself too thin.
Yeah.
So I decided that I will refer those to other people that are, 100% doing that. It's just a better situation in that. But I kept the IMI part of it still because I still do talk to people about their mortgages and how to get out of debt. I teach them a principle of how to get out of debt called the snowball principle. And look at whether or not refinancing, is a benefit for them. So like I said, if it does come down to it, then I refer them actually out to someone else for that solution. But everything else I can basically do in-house. So.
Awesome. So you mentioned earlier that you can make money, but you didn't know what to do with it. And I feel like that's the situation that a lot of people, but people my generation, millennials, are in.
Absolutely.
We know how to make money, but we don't know what to do with it. So like, where do you suggest we start?
Well, sit down with a good financial professional, and I am, unfortunately, what we run into is that a lot of the big box companies don't want to talk to you unless you have a certain amount of wealth. Well, you got to start somewhere. So I will sit down and talk to you about where you're at, what your goals are, help you to just, decipher those goals, whether it's short-term, long-term goals, and give you a good basic understanding of where you need to invest. First of all, you need to have an emergency fund. So, where you put that, at least $1,000 in savings. Okay. If you're someone with a family, I recommend having at least 6 months of an emergency fund saved up. That may be in a money market. Of course, right now money markets are not earning a whole lot, but they're still earning more than maybe the savings accounts at the banks.
Right.
And then, other things like that. So starting to save and invest and just planning your future. And you can start it for as little as $50 a month. So I tell people, start somewhere.
That's true.
And make your money work for you rather than you having to work so hard for your money.
So I think it's Dave Ramsey that talks about snowball effect as well.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, can you explain what that is?
So basically, it's if you have your credit card debt, you have an automobile payment, you have your mortgage, You accumulated debt, which a lot of us do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you live in paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes the credit helps you to stretch that paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So the snowball effect is, like I said, after you have put $1,000 in savings, because you want to make sure that you're not getting back into that cycle. So the snowball effect is that you take the lowest balance that you have, like whether it's a credit card or your loan or whatever, make the minimum payment to every single debt that you have. Once that lowest debt is paid off,
Mm-hmm.
you take that payment. So if right now your total debt is, say, $1,500 a month, you keep paying $1,500 a month until you're 100% debt free. So if that lowest payment is $50 a month, when you pay off that lowest debt, take that $50, put it into the next one. Then you're paying, maybe $200 a month to that debt. When that $200 pays off that debt, then you fold it into the next one. So it's a snowball effect. You continue to do that until eventually, and you have all of that, your whole $1,500 going into your mortgage. Maybe your mortgage is only $1,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
but the whole $1,500 going into your mortgage. So continue to pay back just like you normally would,
Mm-hmm.
but just attack it one at a time.
Gotcha.
A lot of times we find out that little small victories
Mm-hmm.
are what can keep us going. It's when you don't have any victories that you just almost want to give up.
Right.
So,
Right. And I think that's why it's better than going after the credit card with the highest interest rate first,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Because you don't get
yes.
that. You don't get that victory.
right. So, I don't like to see people making minimum payments, but if you're in a absolute attack on your debt,
Mm-hmm.
then definitely, like I said, get that little victory, take that, put it into the next one, take that, just continue to roll it in until you're down to where you're paying your mortgage and paying your mortgage off.
Yeah.
I met with a young lady back a couple of months ago. I do enrollments when I travel. I do enrollments. And that's when I go to work for somebody else and just collect a paycheck at the end of the week. But it's taught me a lot. I absolutely love it. I get to see the U.S. I'm licensed in 20-plus states all over
Right.
the U.S.
Nice.
So I contract with different companies, and I go out. So like when maybe a big hospital has their annual enrollment or open enrollment, me and maybe 26 other counselors are scheduled, and we are out there for 2 or 3 weeks. In November, I was in Washington State.
Okay.
And so we met with a hospital and met with their employees. So we sit down and do just what I'm saying to you that I do is I sit down and educate them on what their benefits are, help them make their choices for the following year. But I met with a young lady that was 27 years old. She was married, and they owned a home. Her and her husband had paid off 100% of their debt
Mm-hmm.
using the snowball effect.
Mm.
27 years old.
That's awesome.
I was impressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was through. I'm very much Dave Ramsey has
Yeah.
some great. So if you get a chance to listen to him, whether it's podcast or ever attend a seminar or anything like that, absolutely do that.
Yeah.
He has some great advice.
I agree. My mom and I, we follow him pretty religiously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good
Absolutely.
stuff. So I guess, speaking of my mom, so we have we're young, but we have parents who are aging, getting towards retirement age. Sooner or later, we'll probably have to help them. So like, how do you suggest like planning for like parents' retirement or care for
them?
Yeah, care
well,
for them.
When they're, I say young or younger, and even for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about this in the future for your children and planning them to take care of you. But
Mm-hmm.
at this point, if they're in good physical condition, there is a long-term care policy. So there's an insurance that you can buy. There's an insurance for everything. But you also don't want to be insurance poor.
Right.
However, when you look at, so insurance basically is trading a small premium for a big benefit, okay? Just like your life insurance. You probably will never outpay your life insurance, the benefit that you would get based first on the premium that you pay in.
Right.
So with a long-term care policy, and most of them now are attached to a life insurance policy. So you have them where I have one that you can put maybe a lump sum benefit into it's basically putting it into an annuity.
Mm-hmm.
But if they go into some type of facility or have to have long-term care or they have to have someone coming in, because you can't do it 24/7.
Right.
It's just too physically and emotionally taxing. So to protect their wealth, then you want to make sure that you have this long-term care policy, and it gives a certain dollar amount based on how much you put into it. You can choose the dollar amount and say, okay, I want to have $1,500 a day, or $150 a day, or I want to have $4,000 a month. And the average assisted living is about $4,000 a month for one single person to live there. It is 100% of their care. Okay. So it's their food, it's their transportation, it's their food and their board.
Gotcha.
But it is not their medications, things like that. So you can work and build your wealth, but you want to protect it as well. We're living longer, but we're not living healthier.
That's true.
So.
Oh, man. Okay, awesome. Well, this is Savannah Business Showcase, so it's all about business owners and wealth and finance and growth. So, what type of services do you offer to business owners and businesses?
I do about probably 10 years ago, I began to focus more on the group benefits. I do continue with the individuals because that's where I started my business, and I actually got into the group to kind of expand my database of individuals that I work with. So I can offer group health, group dental, vision, things like that. So even with a company that may only have 2 employees, as long as it's not just a husband and wife that are the 2 employees, we can sit down and put a group plan together. And the challenges that we're running into right now with the marketplace in Chatham County, the only plan that's being offered, there's only offered one plan. And as an individual. So some people that, I've gone back and forth over the past probably 5 years where they may have been on a group. We took them to an individual plan because it was less expensive to do so. And then now I've taken those back to a group plan because the options are they're not there anymore. Wow. So hopefully we're going to get some, reform on that soon. It needed to be fixed to begin with, but they just kind of, okay, let's get it out there and see what happens. Unfortunately, a situation is that. So hopefully they will do some review. I don't know that it will ever 100% go away. Yeah. But hopefully they will actually read it. Yeah. And make the changes that are necessary because it is not working right now on an individual basis. But so I can sit down and again, I sit down with those employees one-to-one and explain those benefits, help them make the good decisions, on what they may need. Talk to them about, okay, what's your family like? Someone that's, single, 21 years old, yes, I tell everybody you need health insurance because anything can happen. Nobody is beyond getting hurt or getting sick. So you always want to make sure that you do have your health insurance. But even life insurance, the younger you are, the less expensive it is to purchase. So we usually offer a group life that is no medical questions. We give them the opportunity to purchase some voluntary that doesn't ask any medical questions, and then we also give them an opportunity to purchase more to make sure that their whole family is covered. I always tell people you want to have life insurance outside of work because you may leave this job and you may not be able to take that with you, and you may become uninsurable in the meantime.
Got you. So is it a requirement that business owners that a business provides health insurance for their employees? Only over 50, a group of 50 or more. Yeah. Yeah, if you have more than 50 employees, then yes, you get into the you are required to offer those benefits. You're not required for a group that's smaller than that, but it's beneficial. I mean, I tell people, it only takes you have a good employee that's working for you and given all they've got. But if the next guy down the street is offering a benefits package. Yeah. It may not be more pay. It may even be less pay. They're likely to move. That's true. Because they've got those benefits to take care of themselves and their family. So how much do you recommend a person? Because we talked about this before, and it seems like you mentioned that most people have what do you say, like grossly underinsured, yeah.
Especially for life insurance, yes. Yeah. So I tell people, and there is a little bit of a formula. So life insurance is, there's two different types of life insurance. So there's term life, and then there's what they call permanent life insurance. So your term life, and as things change in your life, so when you're young, you don't need a whole lot of life insurance. You need something for burial, okay? But as you get older, you have a family, you have a mortgage. So whatever your salary is replacing or needs to replace, and for however many years. So think about, let's just say your salary is, $100,000 a year. And you're married, you have 2 children, and so your salary now is helping to contribute to that household, helping to pay that mortgage, helping to fund your children's education, and helping with the monthly living expenses. And if you don't have anything that's going to replace that until your children maybe are 18 or grown or sufficient on their own, then that's what the life insurance is there. So term life is there in case you die too soon. And I know we always think any death is too soon, right, but literally too soon, while your income is still sustaining that household. And your permanent life insurance is for when you die. So that's your burial policy. I recommend anyone having a small whole life or universal life permanent life insurance policy. The younger you are, the less expensive that it is. If you get to a point in your life where, hey, I've got money saved, or I've put money aside that is specifically for my burial, it's not going to be used for anything else, and my family can access it immediately, or you pre-plan and prepay for your funeral, then you may not need that life insurance anymore, okay? There are a lot of people, the wealthy, use life insurance to transfer wealth. So it also, it's can use for different things as far as transferring wealth as well. But a permanent policy is going to build cash value. A term is strictly insurance. Okay. It's there to cover you. Get the most insurance. You get the biggest bang for your buck. Gotcha. For term life insurance. Gotcha. So
how much do you recommend? Say, like you said, with round numbers, if I earn 6 figures, 100,000.
Okay, so if you're 100,000 and you've got kids that are, how old are your kids?
5 and 1.
5 and 1. Okay, yeah. So you got a baby that needs your income, okay, or your spouse's income, both of you, okay, until, let's just say, until they're 18 years old. So 100,000 times 18, that's replacing your salary, because you're there to raise that child. You're there to provide financial support for that child.
Gotcha.
Or to pay off that mortgage. And it's all an individual need. So we would sit down, and if you've got something that says, hey, okay, if so-and-so passed away, I could still maintain because our home is paid for. Yeah. My income could still maintain. Yes, it would hurt. I still recommend, like I said, having some, because there could be emergencies that come up. There could be, all kinds of there's just so many things. But I help you sit down and determine exactly what you need, right, and then make a decision.
Because everybody's situation is different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, a lot of nuts and bolts stuff here.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Absolutely.
So we are going to take a quick break. And then I'm going to read off a public service announcement really quick, and then we'll come back and do the lightning round. Okay. All right. So once again, how can people find you?
Well, they can reach me. My website is imifinancial.biz. My email address is susan@imifinancial.biz. And my phone number is 912-665-1756.
Beautiful. All right. We're going to take a break really quick. And we're back to the best part of the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Susan McGahee, and we're going to put you through the lightning round.
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So basically the lightning round is a bunch of random questions. You can answer them as short or as long as you want to, and we'll get you out of here. Okay. All right. What did you want to be as a kid, and how does that relate to your current business?
Oh, wow. I think I didn't really know what I wanted to be as a kid. Of course, I thought I was going to, get married. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a wife. But I never really totally knew what I wanted to be as a kid. So, the wife and the mother didn't happen, other than to my 4-legged child. But that's okay. I have learned to adapt to that, and I've learned to be single and enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely enjoy it. So I've seen your Facebook. You are cuddling a little baby somewhere now.
Okay, that is yes. Okay, that is my brand new grandniece that was born in December. Her name is Penelope Rose. Okay. And I think she's the most beautiful baby on the planet. But that's just me. I'm a little jealous. But she lives in Dayton, Ohio, or actually Miamisburg. So hopefully she will not have changed too much when we get back up in to see her. But we do travel. That's where we were for Christmas. So, awesome. Yes.
Awesome. Very beautiful kid. Yeah. Very beautiful kid. How have you approached failure in life?
Well, it depends on what. I usually try to go, okay, what caused this? What caused me to fail? Was it me? Was it outside resource? Things that I had no control over. If it's something that I controlled, and if I look at it truly as a failure, that's something that I need to adapt to, then I usually try to where I went wrong and try to learn from that and move forward.
I like that advice a lot because some things you just can't control.
Right.
You just have to.
That's right. Roll with the punches.
There you go. Who influenced you early in life, and who's your mentor now?
Like I said, my parents are my best friends. They probably weren't when I was a teenager. At the time, I thought they were probably my worst enemy. But as I've grown older and like I said, realized changes I needed to make in my life, I realized that they were right on most things. Not all of them. Not 100%. So, but, I love them. I admire them. They have my work ethic probably from my dad. He worked for 32 years for one company, loved his job. He was able to retire somewhat early. He injured his back, so he kind of had to retire. I'm sure he'd probably still be working if they'd let him now if the plant hadn't closed down. But, he just physically couldn't do it anymore. But I remember, there was times that he couldn't sleep. He'd get up and he'd go to work. He'd be in there at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Plant called Thermo King in Louisville, Georgia. Wow. And it employed, a good number of people in Louisville. Unfortunately, it shut down probably about 8 or 9 years ago now. But he loved what he did, and I saw that love for what he did, so he just always had a passion for it, and so like I said, I could work hard, I could outwork anybody. I just didn't know what to do with it when I got it.
I agree with that. And you don't see that anybody working 30 years in one place anymore. Hardly
Unfortunately,
ever.
No. Very seldom. So
I've had a crazy amount of jobs. I can't even count them. It's just
and it happens, whatever circumstances, whether it's it's just not the right fit for you, and but once you find what you love to do, and can stick with that. That's to me what matters is having a passion and a love for what you do. It makes it easier. Just really makes it easier. It makes you look forward to getting up and going at it and doing. And I love sitting down with clients when I can really make the whole plan come together. And especially when I've had, like I said, a family where maybe the husband handled all the finances. All of a sudden the spouse is going, I don't know what to do. And when I can sit down and put a plan together and show them that if we do this, if you do nothing, you're going to be out of money in 5 years. But if we do this, it's going to last you 15 or 20 years or so much more, like, trying to help them stretch that money and make sense of what they need to do.
Right. So. Beautiful. Advice for new entrepreneurs.
Love what you do. Treat your employees well. Treat the people that work with you well. Business, period. And find people that you can work with to be your sales force. Refer you. Find a good a group to belong to. I actually recently joined BNI, Dynamic Business Builders. Woohoo! Yeah. And sorry. I have now a I have my church family, but also now have what I call my work family. I mean, sometimes when you're a business owner and you are a sole person in your business, you're doing all of it. So with BNI, I have a sales force out there that can say, hey, I know somebody that can do this, and I know somebody that can do this, and hey, this person I know well, and and that's what we do is we get to know each other. We spend time outside of just that weekly meeting. We spend time together, whether it's an after hours get together, or we meet one-to-one, and have lunches and learn about each other personally. And it's getting those relationships to go deep. Yeah. As much as it is to go wide, but more to go deep. So building those deep relationships.
Yeah, and BNI is an amazing organization.
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're everywhere, and it's for a reason. How did you get your first client?
Cold call.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Yeah. Believe it or not. Actually, my parents were my first client.
Okay.
I think. So some of my first clients. But, back in the day, we did cold calls, but... and I hate it now with a passion, but it did, it did build my confidence in working with people, and again, I was still able to go sit down with people that just didn't have a clue, provide that education, and help them. But we did. I mean, Moore and I spent times in the courthouse looking up deeds and talking to them about refinancing their homes. And that led into, every other aspect of their finances. Yeah. But, it was fun, but not really. I'd rather not do. Now I'm on a referral basis, which is great. I love that.
I agree. I hated cold. When I was in real estate, I hated doing cold calls.
Yeah.
They give you a list to just say call it. I hated
call
it.
them. Yeah.
So let's use your grandniece, for example.
Okay.
So what are you going to teach her about entrepreneurship?
Find what you love. Figure out what you love to do. And sometimes we don't figure that out until we're, 25 or 30 years old.
Yeah.
One thing that I did when I first moved down here too was I worked for temp agencies. So I worked at different companies and different industries. And found what I did and didn't love. I actually did love bartending and waitressing because it was a customer service oriented. You were there, and the better I was at it, the more money I made because it was a tip service.
Yeah.
So do what you love, and don't. It doesn't have to necessarily be. Sure, I would love for her to be a doctor and a brain surgeon and make all this money, but. And spend time with your family. Whatever you do, don't let your job overwhelm you. Don't let it take up all of your time to where all of a sudden you look around and go, life's happened without me, and all the money in the world can't replace that.
Beautiful. I like that. That's true. That's something me and my wife talk about a lot, just that balance.
Yep.
Because she's busy. And
it's hard.
And I got a business, I'm busy.
Yep.
But we still have kids and we have to spend time with each other.
Yep. Absolutely.
What have you had to sacrifice in order to start your business?
To start my business, really it was, you just kind of, there's days you wonder, where's the next paycheck coming from? So sometimes sleep. Honestly, I've probably not sacrificed as much being in business for myself as I did when I worked for other people. Because even when I worked for the last employer that I worked for, I would be at work at, 6 a.m. to catch my superintendents before they went out into the field. I wouldn't get off sometimes. If I was lucky to get off by 4:30, I would get off at 4:30 to miss the traffic. But if we didn't, then sometimes it was 6 o'clock before I'd leave the office. I'd come home with a computer. I'd sit in my chair with my computer, emailing clients and doing so. I was really still working 80 and 85 hours a week. And I kind of gave up, my church, my family, my friends, and everything else.
Yeah.
And even though I was getting paid, quote, the biggest salary I had ever gotten paid, had great benefits, it wasn't worth it. Yeah. It really was, when I left there, the best thing that ever happened to me. So.
A few more. Okay. What's something most people don't know about you?
Well, a lot of people don't know that I am single, never been married, never had any kids. And a lot of people did not know that I started out as a bartender and a waitress when I first moved to Savannah, but we talked about that earlier. I love the beach. If you're on my Facebook, you know that. When the summertime comes around, that's what you see is beach pictures. I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot of secrets, you know. I'm try to be pretty open and honest with most people. I don't tell 100% of my secrets. But
Yeah, it's easier that way.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool though that you were a bartender at waitress because I did pedicab for a little bit when we first moved here.
Okay.
And it's a whole little community there of bartenders and pedicabbers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we got our Sunday nights off, we went and visited, the other bars.
Yep.
We gave the business back to our friends and same thing. We traded off. And like you said, there was, there's nothing like the bartender and waitress in community.
That's true.
And I think I mentioned earlier, Bar Food actually won the Savannah Lip Sync competition last night, and man, they had that whole place went nuts. I was like, wow, okay, we know who the popular ones are here.
Everybody knows them.
That's right.
Too well, probably.
That's right.
Okay, favorite book?
I don't know that I really have any one particular one, but I mean, I have some authors that I love.
Okay.
I love to, which I haven't done in a while. I haven't had a chance to read in a while. I listen to podcasts a lot. So I listen to my BNI podcast. I listen to Dave Ramsey. I have another one, Donald Miller's Story Brand. That is great. So I probably listen to more than I actually read a lot because I'm in my vehicle a lot.
Yep.
But I do love Christian authors. I love Karen Kingsbury. I love Dee Henderson. So some kind of suspense. I like CIA, but more Christian based. So I like the clean ones.
Gotcha. Awesome. Another great podcast you'll probably like then is Lee Cockrell.
Okay.
Creating Disney Magic.
Okay.
It's one I just recently found. It's like 15, 20 minutes an episode.
Awesome.
But he was the director of operations for Disney.
Awesome.
And so he had I think it was 40,000 people under him. It's just the wisdom that he has is amazing.
Yep,
So
definitely.
creating Disney Magic, I would check that out.
Okay.
So there's a concept called the 80-20 principle, Pareto's principle. 20% of the actions you take equal 80% of the results. So in your business, what are the 20% of things you do that get you the most results?
Probably actually when I'm sitting down with my clients and after I've met with them initially and kind of listened. So listen to what their needs are, listen to what they want to accomplish, and then I sit down and I do a lot of work. So probably in my case, 80% of what I do is not necessarily I may not get paid for, put it that way, because I sit down and do a lot of course, there's paperwork involved and there's research involved and doing things like that. So my principle may go a little bit the other way. And that, my sitting down with a client one-to-one in an hour and a half or 2 hours or however many times we meet will eventually get me, but my hope is to, like I said, educate them so that they can make good financial decisions. So, just working with them like that.
Gotcha. So one-to-one interactions.
Yes, absolutely.
So you said you travel a lot, which is pretty cool. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh my gosh. Well, I hadn't been outside of the U.S. other than, I went to Canada because I went to Niagara Falls, and then I went to on a cruise to Cozumel, Mexico. Okay. So, but as far as, so let's say the U.S., if I could live there and have my family be closer, Naples, Florida. I work down there, and it is just, it's absolutely beautiful. Okay. Very expensive to live there, so I'm glad they were paying all the bills for me to be there. But it was probably one of my most favorite enrollments. Now I did, and I also went to the Pacific Coast. It's beautiful there. Got to see the Pacific Ocean, worked around the San Francisco, San Jose. That was pretty cool. So,
How was Washington State?
Washington State was good. It was cold. They had an unexpected. I've been telling everybody the past couple of weeks. I was like, okay, guys, y'all can blame me for the snow, and I'm sorry, because I went to Washington State in November. They had an early snowfall, and I had to drive 2.5 hours in it. And this Southern Georgia girl does not know how to drive in snow very well, but I had to learn. Fortunately, I had a 4-wheel drive over the mountains, through the woods. And it wasn't a grandma's house, but it was, it was scary. And then, of course, when we left, they were starting to have floods. So we had torrential rains going on.
Wow.
Well, then I went to Ohio for Christmas, and we had a white Christmas there. Then I come back to Savannah, and for the first time in 30 years, they have snow. So sorry, guys, but maybe the blame for the snow. Maybe follow me everywhere.
Probably both of us.
Sorry.
Probably both of us. We went to Minnesota. That's where my wife's family is from.
Yes.
Yeah, and we got 1 degree weather.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was tough.
Yes.
Yeah.
The weather wasn't really that bad in Washington. Actually, really wasn't that. To me, it wasn't that cold. I'm hot nature, but it wasn't that cold. It wasn't that biting. The wind wasn't blowing and things. It wasn't that really chilly. But I mean, it was chilly. It was cold, but not too bad. So.
Got you. Okay. 2 more. If you had a superpower or ability, what would you choose and why?
Cure cancer. I mean, that's one thing that I see everywhere I turn around that is just affecting so many lives. I have friends. I've lost friends. And I truly believe it's out there somewhere. It's just a matter of being able to get it to the right people that need it, and 100% cure. Just eradicated, totally gone away. Never even, cancer's not even a thing anymore. It's gone. So.
Yeah, and I've noticed that's a big part of who you are and what your business stands for, is just giving back. So, like, why did you decide to, why do you want to make that a part of your business?
Like I said, because I've been affected. There's very few places that you can go, and more than likely, whether it's the person on the right or the person on the left, has been affected by cancer somehow. Whether it's a loss, or them personally, or a family member, or they know somebody. And I want to give a shout out, if you don't mind, to the lip sync last night, the Lymphoma Leukemia Society. That's a mouthful. Dedicated the show last night to a beautiful young lady named Lily Stuckey. About 2 weeks ago, she was diagnosed with leukemia. It's a blood cancer. And they've been very aggressive with their cancer treatments. And I understand that she went back in the hospital to receive more treatments. But, when you see somebody that's a vibrant, beautiful young lady, that is affected, and the family, I know the family, they're friends of mine. And, to see somebody affected by that, it breaks your heart. So prayers go out to the family. And, like I said, that's just something that, if I can give back and help in that cause in any way, whether it's by physical means of being on a team and raising money. And I mean, I can raise some money now. I may not always have it to give, but I can raise some money. I taught people how to give it up, give me some money.
Okay, good skill to have. I'm glad I know that now. So last question. Any final advice for entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs?
Like I said, young entrepreneurs, be good to your people. Definitely be good to your people. But, put something in that aspect, put something in place that benefits them. Whether it's group benefits, and know that, sometimes you have to give a little to get some back. So be willing to pay for part of their insurance, or pay for part of their benefits, or give them something. Because I remember when I worked for a company, and we had a little round table, employee meeting, and I just won a $25 gift card in that meeting. It's like, wow, yay, this is great. And it was a little competition going on in there, but it was something for free that was given. It was as an appreciation, or even a bigger one. I got a $500 gift card. It's a good appreciation, and I love spending other people's money. So I'd rather do that, and I had fun. I got to go shopping at the mall.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Susan, for being on the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you for the
appreciate you
opportunity
coming
to be here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's great.
Again, how can people find you? And what's the best way for them to contact you?
Email probably is Susan at IMI, that's Igloo Mary Igloo, Financial .biz as in business, B as in boy, I as in igloo, Z as in zebra. Phone 912-665-1756, and leave a message if I don't answer. Because if I'm meeting with a client, I usually try to silence my phone, unless I have an emergency contact that texts me or calls me. And then also, please check out my website, www.imifinancial.biz, and it kind of talks about me and my resources and what's out there. There's links that you can click on to see what's out there. So
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show. Thank you, everybody out there listening. As always, be the change you want to see in the world. We only have one life to live that we know of, so go out there and make something of yourself. Do something that you're passionate about. Do something to help the person next to you. All right,
Absolutely.
So love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week.